Hey friends, okay, so today's video, I'm gonna do something that I am so passionate about. I truly believe that it is so important for Catholics, Christians, to get together and to have fellowship and to talk about God and to talk about life, to talk about parenting or food or whatever. I think it is so important for us to build communities within the church. And so I'm gonna talk about kind of how to do that. Like maybe God's kind of tugging in your heart to have a Bible study or a book study, a Rosary group, a mother's prayer group. This is not necessarily for moms, but for anything. If God's placing in your heart, if you have a gift, a talent, the church needs you. And so I know some people have this gift and talent and they don't know what to do with it. I feel like I had that gift and talent to lead small groups and I didn't know what to do with it really. And I was kind of forced into it. Like our leader, one place that we lived was leaving, and so they didn't have another leader, and everyone's like, Heather's gonna do it. And I was like, oh no, I can't, no. And they just like automatically made me the leader. And I realized that I did okay. Like I let the Holy Spirit lead me, and that it was a little scary, but it was okay. I honestly thought I had to know all the answers, and that's why God would ask me to lead, a book club. So it was a book club that I was a part of, and it actually was amazing. And honestly, I wouldn't probably be doing YouTube if it wasn't for that, because it made me realize like I had these gifts that God gave me, and they'd never really been stirred before probably, and they probably wouldn't have been if they didn't push me into the leadership role and stuff. So, and long story short, I wanted to start a Catholic mommy group at a parish, the last place we lived, and the lady's like, nope, we don't have any space. And I was like, oh, okay. I felt embarrassed, and but that's when God said to start a YouTube channel. So I was like, oh, okay, like I could do that because my husband moves, every couple years and stuff. So this is a ministry I can take with me. So, okay, that was a long story short, but pretty much I want to give you tools to start a ministry within your church. I think that it is so important. I think sometimes we think that other people are going to step up and start a mommy group or something like that, and no one ever does. And so I think we need to be the ones who do that, which sounds scary probably to a lot of people. I know I hate being the center of attention, so that was like for me the scariest part, or not knowing the answers. But you have to realize that it's not you. It is the Holy Spirit that will speak through you. If you ask the Holy Spirit to speak through you and to guide you and lead you, He will. He is more than willing to help with that. So I have this whole list that I thought I just like jotted down what would be helpful. And so I'm gonna go through it. I'm hoping to start up very soon on my website at CatholicMomsLife.com a page to help you with this too, how to start a Catholic moms group. So it'll be a PDF, so you just print it out and you fill it out, and it'll make you think of all the different aspects of having a small group or a group that would be helpful. And then also there's gonna be book discussion. So I'll have a book kind of like this. This is one of the books, but I'll talk about this later. But I'll have like a book, like a picture like this on my website, and then inside you click on it and it'll have a bunch of questions, so discussion questions that you can go through with different books, awesome Catholic books that you can discuss with your group, so you don't have to come up with discussion questions. Okay, so that's a side note, but I'm gonna say, first of all, pray about it. Pray and ask God if He wants you to be a leader. Maybe He doesn't even really necessarily want you to be a leader, but He wants you to help start one. So if you maybe have a friend that you think would be awesome at like leading a discussion group, maybe pray about that and just like bring that idea to your friend, and maybe together you can kind of co-lead it. Or maybe you can, just be a host, so you're not like really in charge of leading discussion or anything like that. But I just encourage you to pray and ask God, is this something that you want me to do? Because there is a great need in the Catholic faith for a lot more community. I encourage you to, if it is, I'm gonna say if it's a Catholic mommy group, because that's what I'm used to, but you can always do a Rosary group. You can, do a Bible study. They don't necessarily have to be a mommy group, but I'm just gonna talk as if it is, and hopefully encourage, even if it's not a mommy group, even if, it's no matter what your age is. You can, if you're a youth, you can do it. If you're single, you can do it. If you're retired, you can do all of this. So just pray and ask God, God, do you want me to lead a group at our church? So the first thing is to start planning now. So right now it's what, like June, July? So I encourage you to plan a couple months ahead of time. If it is a Catholic mommy group, I encourage you to start it after school starts, so that moms can get into the rhythm of how their school year is gonna go, whether they're homeschooling, whether they're not, and then they can join your group. So that's something I encourage, but you could really start anytime, or maybe even after Christmas. So when to start? The next thing is, what kind of book study or group do you want to start? So I have been in several Catholic mommy groups, and they're all very different. Like the one I'm in right now, we meet every other Tuesday night at different people's houses. So I think there's 7 of us, and we kind of rotate houses. We start at 8 o'clock at night, and yes, we go till like 10 or 11 because we talk and talk and talk. It is so fun. We laugh a lot. We thoroughly enjoy it. We're all exhausted the next morning, but it is so life-giving at the same time. So you don't necessarily have to have a church to go to, or maybe you do want to have it at the church, and maybe every like Wednesday mornings you have your group. I would say be consistent, like stay consistent, stay in the same spot, do the same thing, so that anybody can go to it and not be like, oh, are they gonna be there this week? I remember going to a Bible study, or it was a mommy group, it wasn't a Bible study, and I went where the bulletin said that they would be, and nobody was there. And they're a large group of women, but they were all decided to go to a park that day, and I didn't know that. So it was hard, because if one person goes and they're like, okay, here's my one chance, they might not come back. So you want to be consistent, do the same thing every week, so it's well known what you're doing. I've also been in mommy groups where there's no reading at all. So you could just go, and they have different speakers, different topics. That's another way to do it. It's a little harder, I feel like, for the leaders, because they have to like think of things constantly. But that is doable. The other one is to do a Bible study, and you could do the readings for the next week's readings at church. So that, is universal. So you can just, do the 4 readings, and you can discuss them, so that when you go to church and you're wrangling your kids and wrestling them, and you'll know that you're like, oh yeah, I've already read this, and that was so great, and you know what I mean? Because I don't know about you, but a lot of times when I'm at Mass, I don't hear the readings, because my children are just constantly like, especially my she's not 2 years, but 19-month-old, she is everywhere, and it's so hard for me to concentrate. So something like that would be so great, and to have discussion about it, and all of that. So you gotta figure out like, okay, what do we wanna do? Do you wanna have a Rosary group where you just pray the Rosary every Monday night at the church? Do you want, you know what I mean? Like, you can figure it out. Ask God, what do you want? So those are just some ideas. Okay, if you do have a mommy group, I cannot stress enough the importance of having childcare. Like, that is so important. Usually a lot of the churches will, pay for somebody to come babysit. I mean, they go through the Veritas and all of that they need to, like the training. And there's usually a couple people, and then they watch all the kids, and it is the best thing. If you're a mom, to have 2 hours of adult conversation with no kids in the background. Like, there's nothing better. And honestly, I have noticed that people will come just for that because they want their children. They want 2-hour break from their children, which I think is great because the kids are playing, they're interacting with each other, and it's a great way to get people in the door and to minister to them, to grow deep together. I think that that is so wonderful. So even if they think, oh, I'm just going for the childcare because I need a break, that is a-okay. You do that, because then we get to the heart of the good things in life, which is God and children and family and all of that. So I cannot stress enough, please have childcare. Just recently, I've been at a group where it's amazing women. I absolutely love them, but there's no childcare, and it was like a super echoey place, and it was so loud I could never hear what was being said. It made me like kind of uncomfortable and overwhelmed. And so I realized that I was leaving this group feeling more overwhelmed than fulfilled, you know? So that was really hard. I think they used to have childcare, but I don't know what happened. But I just encourage you to get childcare and just to give moms 2-hour break. That would, like, there's nothing better. I encourage you to write an outline of like what the meeting will kind of look like. So if you start at say 9:30, like everybody meets at 9:30, and then we do prayers, you know, a 5-minute prayer, and then we, you know, talk about the book. And I just encourage you so that, and that's consistent. So every week you do the same thing. One thing that I've noticed is moms love to talk, and that's great. That is so awesome. So I have done, this is the book I always encourage if you're just starting a Catholic mommy group. This is the book I encourage people to read, just because it has great, it's very, if you're just starting out in the Catholic faith, it's awesome. And if you've been Catholic your whole life, it's awesome. There's great like discussions. Like it's called The Handbook for Catholic Moms, and I read it years ago. I've done lots of different groups or started them, and this is a great just starter one, because it's like somebody's mom and a mother's relationship with her children. And so what they would do is they'd read a chapter and then come and they would talk about that week. And usually there's so many good discussions about this, and like there's NFP in there, there's just random things, you know, about motherhood, about marriage. This is so good and basic, and I think it's a great beginner book. And then, but I've noticed, like, because moms talk a lot and we haven't talked to adults for a long time, so sometimes we'll stray from the book, and that's completely fine. When I first started, I was like, no, like I have a next question, like I need to ask this. But I realized that really, truly, we're building community. You know, if Sarah wants to talk about how her daughter is in her terrible twos and she doesn't know what to do, or she can't sleep through the night, like I realized that is way more important than reading this book about what nutrition is good, you know, because they already read that part in there. But if, you know what I mean? So just kind of let it happen organically. But always make sure you have discussion questions. On my website, I will have, throughout time, we're gonna add more books and discussion questions, so that should be taken care of. It'll be like a PDF, you just print it off and go to your group, and it already has the questions all lined up. So so check out my website, see if it's on there yet. If not, hopefully soon it will be on there. Another thing that is kind of draws people in is to have snacks. So I've had it where you can sign up for snacks, or I've had where you can just kind of bring something if you want, and if no one brings a snack, then there's no snacks. Okay, so the next thing I would encourage you to do is have a team of people to help out. Now, if you can't find that, that's okay. I've ran Catholic mommy groups all by myself, and it is doable, but it is better if you can find, you know, a couple people who, maybe a secretary that, you know, on Facebook or email can like tell people what's going on next week. Maybe have a couple people who are hosts. So if there's somebody new to your group, this is so important. If you have somebody new at your group, they're going to be uncomfortable. Anybody in a new situation is uncomfortable. So you want to make sure that they are not uncomfortable. And so you want to make sure to talk to them, engage, ask them about their children, you know, just whatever it is, like engage in them and make them feel comfortable. I have been to groups before where nobody talks to me and it is super uncomfortable. And so, you know, it's just one of those things where I'm like, okay, I know I'm not the only one. And I have friends who have had the same thing because my husband and I move so much. And so I've been in a lot of those situations where I'm like, I don't know anybody here and this is super uncomfortable and everybody's talking to somebody except me. Like, you know, and so it's just to encourage, because it takes a lot for people to put themselves out there to go to these type of things. So you want to make sure everybody's comfortable. Even if you had like some people who are just really good at small talk and making people feel comfortable, ask them if they want to be a part of the team. And then kind of maybe train them a little bit on like, hey, if there's somebody new, will you talk to them? And, you know, type of thing. And it might seem like a no-brainer to a lot of people, but there's been a lot of times where nobody talks to me and it's super uncomfortable. Okay, so the next thing is marketing. So you want to make sure everybody in your parish knows, if you're starting a Catholic mommy group or a Rosary group or whatever it is, you want everybody to know that you're starting this. And so I encourage you to go to the pulpit and just encourage like moms to come, and you know, make sure you're smiling and you're inviting, and you know that people are like, oh, I'd like to, she seems like super nice, I would totally go, you know, to her group or whatever. So invite them at the pulpit if you can, put it in the bulletin. You know what I did? I had a little postcard that I made on Vistaprint that had everything I needed, all the information. So on the front, it talked about what time we meet, that there's free childcare, that we are excited to meet new people, that, you know, just everything on the front of like what we do on the front, and with a cute picture. And then on the back, I put, you know, we were doing a book study. And so on the back, I had a little picture of the book we were reading, and then each week what chapter we were on. So if Sarah just moved into town and it's, you know, the middle of November, and she was like, oh, I want to join this group, she could buy that book, read that chapter, and come to the group. So that's another thing. And that worked out great. And then you could put them in all the bulletins, or you can also stack them in the back. So if people, you know, how in the back they have different pamphlets and stuff, you could do that. And that was super successful. So just make sure you're marketing it. Maybe even those postcards, you could hand them out. If you see young moms coming out, be like, hey, if you want to be if you want to join us, we'd love to have you. And just give them that card, and it has all the information. They can just put it in their book, in their Bible, on their fridge, type of thing. So anyway, I will say marketing is huge. So if you can, you know, have a good hold on that. You can also take a poll and be like, hey, what, you know, after you figure out the group of people, say, what books do you want to do next? What type of group do you want this to be? What time works best for you? Evening, mornings, afternoon? So those are some things I would say if you are doing like a book club or a Bible study, I would encourage you to have a catechism there, and to make sure that people are in line with the Catholic faith. So it might feel uncomfortable if people, I don't know, start talking about, well, I use birth control, and you know, and they might not necessarily know that that's actually a sin. And so there might be uncomfortable situations like that, but that's why you have the catechism there, and you can be like, you know, actually, I'm pretty sure that's not okay in the faith, but like we should totally look it up. And like the great thing about the catechism is it says it all, you know, type of thing. So I encourage you to have a catechism with whatever you're reading, whatever, Bible study, whatever it is. So I would say to split the group, if you have a group bigger than 12, I encourage you to split it in half. So there's like 6 people in each group, and maybe like put them with the same, like if there's like newborn moms and like toddler moms, and just so that they can relate with each other much easier. Or like this is the table of moms that have 6 kids, or you know, whatever it is, just so that they can relate to each other. That is so important, to relate to each other. Okay, so those are kind of my ideas. I hope that it helps you. I'm gonna have everything on my website on just things that'll help you have discussion questions, but also if you want to start, I will have like a checklist of ideas, things you could think about, talk to your priest, like, hey, can we use a space? Can we have childcare? All of that. I would hope that most priests would be okay with that, because that is very life-giving to these moms, which is very important for bringing up these children in the Catholic faith, you know, helping to build the Catholic community. So anyway, so those are my ideas. Go to my website. If this is something you're excited, zeal for, then go with it. Pray, ask God, find that group of people, and I just think God will use you if that's how you feel. So anyway, until next time, I will see you all later. God bless. Bye.